Alright, so in this video we're going to be looking at scattergraphs. I've got two examples for us to have a look at, so let's just jump straight into it. So the first one, a small shop has been recording its weekly sales of ice cream in pounds, S, compared to the average weekly temperature in Celsius, T. The results can be seen below. The line of best fit has been drawn. So here we have our scatter graph. We've already had a line of best fit drawn in, and we've got some information around on the axes here. So we are being asked in part A, in terms of S and T, find the equation of the line. Well, to start off with, I need to actually identify some coordinates, and that's where these numbers here come into play. So if I think about this point here, this has this quote-unquote x coordinate and this quote-unquote y coordinate. I say quote-unquote because we've got the s here instead and a t there instead, but we'll deal with that at the end. So looking at that, my two sets of coordinates, my first one's going to be that 10, 150, because remember our x coordinate comes first and then it's our y coordinate. And then our second one is going to be the 30 and the 350. So then thinking about my gradient formula, so that's the m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So that's my first x coordinate, that's my first y. This here will be my second x coordinate, and this will be my second y coordinate. So it's going to be 350 minus 150 all over 30 take away 10. And that's just going to come out to 350 take away 150. So that's going to be 200 over 20, which will just give me a final answer for my gradient of 10. Then putting that into my equation of a line formula in order to find out the equation. So that's going to be that y minus b equals m bracket x minus a. So my a and the b, I'm going to go for the 10 and the 150 because those are my smaller ones. So I think they're going to be a little bit more straightforward. So that's going to be y minus 150 equals 10 bracket x minus 10. So that's going to be y minus 150 equals 10x minus 100. And then I'm going to plus that 150 to both sides. And I'm now left with y equals 10x plus 50. Now, usually we have been fine to get to this stage and then move on. However, the key thing that you must not forget is this in terms of S and T. But right now, mine is in terms of X and Y. So I need to change those. So I need to think, right, where is my X coordinate normally at? Normally my X coordinate is here. So that means I'm going to change the X for a T. And my y coordinate is normally the s, so I'm going to change the y for that s. So my final answer is going to be s equals 10t plus 50. So again, the reason why is that x is normally here on my x-axis, but I've got a t there instead, so I swap it out for the t. Same idea for the y. My y-axis is normally here, but since the s is there, I'm going to swap it out for that s. Okay, so that was part A. Then part B says, there is a forecast of consistent 42-degree weather. Use your equation to make an estimate on how much they will earn from ice cream. So 42-degree weather. Remember, the temperature is in Celsius T. So I know that T equals 42 here. And I'm wanting to find out what S is because that is their weekly sales. So using my formula, I don't know what S is. my t is at 42. And then I'll just start working through that. So 10 times the 42 is 420 plus the 50. And that's going to give me a final answer of £470. Okay, so let's take a look at another example then. So this one here, I have a subject has an interim test T with a maximum of 30 marks, followed by a prelim P with a maximum of 50 marks. The results of a class are shown below. The line of best fit has been drawn. Point A represents a student who got 16 marks in their prelim and 11 marks in their test. Point B represents a student who got 34 marks in their prelim and 20 marks in their test. Now the key thing up here, this only really tells us what the T and the P are. So specifically T for test, P for prelim. I'm going to go on to the next page so I have that information out just so I have more space at the bottom for my work. So part A asks us, in terms of P and T, find the equation of the line. So we need to actually start off and figure out what our coordinates are going to be. And this time it's got a slightly different setup. So point A represents a student who got 16 marks in their prelim and then 11 marks in their test. Well, looking at our axes here, P is at the bottom where my x coordinate will normally be, and T is where my y coordinate will normally be. So my x coordinate is going to be that 16, and my y coordinate is going to be that 11. So I do the same idea here, the 34 in the prelim and the 20 in the test. So that is going to be 34, 20. Now usually, don't always count on this, but usually it is written in the order of the typical x coordinate and the typical y coordinate, but always double check with your axes. So now we've got our coordinates, now we can begin finding out the gradient. So remember, my formula is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So that can be my x1 and my y1, and this can be x2, y2. And remember, it doesn't matter what way round I have my set, as long as the ones are all together and the twos are all together. So that's now going to be 20 minus 11 all over 34 minus 16. 20 minus 11, that's going to give me 9. And 34 minus 16 is going to be 18. And that is just going to simplify down to a half. So I have my gradient there. So now I'm going to use my equation of a line formula. So that's that y minus b equals m bracket x minus a. And I'm going to go for the 16 and the 11 because it's smaller. So that's my a and my b. So I've got y minus 11 equals a half bracket x minus, and then that's 16. Then I'm going to multiply by that 2 to get rid of that fraction. And remember, I've got to multiply these two things individually because they are separate. So it's going to be 2y minus 22 equals, when I multiply the fraction by the denominator, I'm left with the numerator. So expanding that bracket basically stays the same. So that's just going to be x minus 16. Then I plus that 22 to both sides. So I've now got 2y equals x, and that's going to be plus 6. And then I'm going to divide by that 2 on both sides. So I now have y equals x over 2 plus 3. But remember, this is saying in terms of p and t, find the equation of the line. But right now, I've got it in terms of y and x. So remember, looking to see where the letters normally are. So my y coordinate, my y-axis is normally up here. So that means I'm swapping the y for the t. And my x-axis is normally here. So I'm swapping the x for the p. So my final answer is going to be t equals, not x over 2, p over 2 plus 3. And so that's my final answer. Okay, so then looking at part B then. So part B, if a student got 24 in the test, estimate what they will get in the prelim. So we are dealing with 24 in the test. And remember, the test, that is going to be my T. So I know that T equals 24. So substituting that into my formula, I'm now going to have 24 equals P over 2 plus 3. And I need to start rearranging it in order to find out what P is. So to bring it in with, I'm going to multiply by 2 to get rid of that fraction. Remember here, I've got to multiply these two parts individually. So I'm now going to have 48 equals P plus 6. And then I take away the 6 on both sides. And so I'm now left with 42 equals P. I'm just swapping it around to make that look mathematically nice. Okay, so that is our scatter graphs. It works pretty much the same as what we've done before in the past with our equation line, but the key major difference is changing the equation, so changing the terms of what the equations are in, and then using the equation in a bit of context. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck with the work.